So main topic tonight, quarterbacks on the move in 2021, question mark. Who goes and who needs a new face? So we're going to be covering both the guys that need a new spot and the franchises that need a new face. Started off, current backups to watch. We got Nick Foles with the Chicago Bears. He has 2 years left on his contract, and he's owed $4 million in each. Now, these that I'm going to be talking about here are backups who could potentially be starters or high-quality backups on another team. These three we got coming here: Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston, and Josh Rosen. Andy Dalton for the Cowboys, Winston for the Saints, and Rosen for the newly acquired San Francisco Giants are all free agents in 2021. All three of these guys are not under contract unless San Francisco extends Josh Rosen, which could happen. All three of these will be on the block, will be on the market at the conclusion of this season. Dwayne Haskins for the Washington football team. He's got 2 years left, and he's owed $1.8 million in 2021. And I have him listed as a backup because technically he is the backup, because Kyle Allen and Alex Smith were kind of the starters. RG3 with Baltimore and Jacoby Brissett from Indy. Both of those two unrestricted free agents in 21. Gardner Minshew with Jacksonville. 2 years left on his contract. He's only owed $850,000 next season. Marcus Mariota with the Raiders. He's got 1 year left, and he's owed $6 million in 21, and he's got a potential opt-out in 21 with a zero cap hit. So there's potential right there. And then you got Tyrod Taylor with the Chargers, Fitzy with the Dolphins, and Joe Flacco with the Jets. All three unrestricted free agents in 21. Here's your current starters that are potentially going to be going elsewhere. Starting off with Matt Ryan with the Atlanta Falcons. 3 years left on his deal, and next year alone is owed $23 million. Now, the numbers that I'm talking about here are only their it doesn't include any bonuses, so it doesn't include roster bonus or signing bonus. This is just their base salary. Okay, some of these guys could be upwards of another 10, 20, 30 million dollars on top of this. This is just their base salary. Teddy Bridgewater, Carolina, he's got 2 years left, and he's owed $17 million in 21. Mitch Trubisky out of the Bears, and his fifth-year option was declined by the Bears. He'll be a free agent in 21 because they owe $0 to him. Dak Prescott, Dallas Cowboys, he will end up being an unrestricted free agent unless signed. Matthew Stafford with the Lions, 2 years left on his contract. They're only owing him $9.5 million in base salary in 21, and he's got an option with the opt-out clause, and they would be on the hook for $25 million on their cap. Kirk Cousins with the Minnesota Vikings, 2 years left on his, and he's owed $21 million next year. Carson Wentz, Philadelphia Eagles. I do have him listed as a starter because he was the starter up until Jalen Hurts was inserted in his place. Carson Wentz has 3 years left on his contract. $15 million in 21 alone, and he's got a potential opt-out after 21, but it would require a $24.5 million cap hit. Jimmy G over there in San Francisco. 2 years on his contract left, and he's owed $24 million in 2021. Alex Smith with the Washington football team. He's got 2 years left on his contract. $18.7 million in 2021. And he's got a potential out after this season, but it's a $10.8 million cap hit. Kyle Allen, again, I have both of them listed on here because they kind of were both sharing starting role, kind of. Kyle Allen is actually a exclusive restricted free agent this next year. Now, exclusive means that they can sign if how is it worded? Washington has the option to sign him first. And he can't get into talks with anybody else. So it's a weird deal. Very seldom do you see an exclusive restricted free agent. And it's because he hasn't been in the league for 3 years. Odd situation. But he could end up somewhere else if Washington elects to not re-sign him. Then we go over to Derek Carr with the Raiders. He's got 2 years left on his deal, $19.5 million in 2021. Cam Newton, New England Patriots, unrestricted free agent. Sam Darnold with the New York Jets. He has 1 year left on his deal at $920,000 owed to him in 2021 base salary. They still have not opted into his fifth year. They could do that and save themselves a buttload of cap space by picking up his fifth year option. Then we've got big names coming into the NFL draft. Here are your 5 projected potential first-round draft pick quarterbacks coming into this draft. We've got Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson, projected number 1 overall. Justin Fields out of Ohio State, projected number 2 quarterback. Zach Wilson out of BYU, he's projected as the number 3 quarterback. Trey Lance out of North Dakota State, projected number 4. And Kyle Trask out of Florida, projected the 5th quarterback to be taken off the board. Now, question is, who adds a quarterback in 2021? Now, this is going to get into some scenarios of where we could see some success for a lot of teams. Some of these are some pipe dreams. Some of these are some things that could actually happen. Let's take a look. Jacksonville Jaguars drafting Trevor Lawrence. Pretty much a guarantee. New England Patriots trading for Jimmy G or Derek Carr. Could very easily happen. Hang on a second. I'm going to switch my screen for 1 second. There we go. That's better. Much better. Atlanta Falcons draft Justin Fields and sign Kyle Allen. They could actually get Kyle Allen. Justin Fields makes sense. He's actually from Georgia. New York Jets extend Darnold. Fire Gase. Sign Ryan Fitzpatrick. And this makes the most sense for the Jets. Even with the number 2 overall pick, I don't see the need to sign Fields, to draft Fields. It makes no sense to me. If you've got Sam Darnold, who we've all seen how bad Adam Gase is for coaching a young quarterback. Look at Ryan Tannehill. You have Sam Darnold, who's talented. You have Sam Darnold, who's a leader. You have Sam Darnold, who can play football. And you've only seen him play for Gase. Gase needs to go. Okay? Then what you do, Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be a free agent. You sign Ryan Fitzpatrick. You give the team some leadership. You give Darnold a chance to learn under a quarterback who is as selfless as they come in the NFL. And you have a chance at some success. And Darnold has an opportunity to make his career worthy instead of just submarining it under Adam Gase and then destroying Justin Fields under Adam Gase. The Detroit Lions, they could trade Stafford for Mariota. Then after that, they could still draft a guy. They could sign another free agent. There's a couple that are going to be on the board. Mariota looked good the other night when Derek Carr went down. So there you go. Stafford's cap hit equals about what Mariota's is right now. So Stafford to Vegas, Mariota to Detroit. Especially if the Patriots end up going after Derek Carr instead of Jimmy G. How about that? Mariota revives his career in Detroit. He's worked with less weapons than what they've had. Could potentially work. Denver Broncos sign Jameis Winston and trade for Alex Smith. Alex Smith is maybe 2 years left. A year, maybe two. And I get it. He's a great feel-good comeback story. Fantastic. I loved seeing him back, dressed, hit the field, throw some balls, look good doing it, and then he got hurt again. Is he a long-term solution for any franchise? No. Is Drew Lock? We don't know. He looks good one drive, looks bad the next. Looks good one drive, looks bad the next. So, you already have Drew Lock on the roster. Trade for Alex Smith. Alex Smith can tutor him too. Then you have Jameis Winston waiting as well in case, as an insurance policy. Or see what you got in Jameis Winston. Put Jameis Winston out with the weapons that the Broncos have. You got Courtland Sutton. Sutton. Yeah, Courtland Sutton. You've got Hamler. You've got Hill. You got a pretty dang good wide receiver core. Let Jameis Winston sling it around. Noah Fant, great receiving tight end. Let him sling it around. You might put up 40 points a game. Yeah, sure. Winston might throw 25 interceptions. Might throw less. But he's going to move the ball. And that's the problem that Denver's had, is they haven't been able to move the ball. Let him throw it. Alex Smith. Tutor Locke. See if Locke has it. Worst case scenario, you might have Jameis Winston be your backup, and if he doesn't want to be the backup to Locke after Locke figures it out, whatever's going on with him, then you can trade Winston for a buttload. Could work. Washington. Sign Cam Newton. You got Ron Rivera. He's familiar with Cam Newton. They loved each other. Sign Cam. While you're at it, sign Jacoby Brissett. Another mobile quarterback. Obviously, you don't like Haskins. Obviously, it's not going to work. Kyle Allen's dirt cheap. You can let him walk. If you trade Alex Smith out, maybe you get draft capital. There you go. Sign Cam Newton and Jacoby Brissett. Cam Newton's run game helps with Antonio Gibson. Or Jacoby Brissett can throw the ball too. There you go. Boom. God, maybe I should be a GM. Chicago Bears. Let me say this. Re-sign Mitch Trubisky. Re-sign Mitch Trubisky. Don't F this up. Then they really should just go out and sign Joe Flacco as a backup. Joe Flacco's a polished NFL veteran, starting NFL veteran, who can be successful, who has been successful, and he could help clear Trubisky's head. Sign Flacco to a 1-year, $1 million contract, just like the Jets did, and let him tutor Trubisky. It can work. This is better than bringing in Foles and signing him to a 3-year contract and making Trubisky look over his shoulder when he already had confidence shaken. Bring in Flacco to back him up. Simple as that. San Francisco 49ers trade for Matt Ryan. The biggest problem that the 49ers have had in the last 3 years has been 4 years. Jimmy Garoppolo's health. With stable quarterback play, with a guy who can throw the ball in the Kyle Shanahan offense, it works. Matt Ryan's familiar with Kyle Shanahan. It worked then. It can work now. This is the best marriage between a quarterback and a head coach since the Drew Brees, Sean Payton era where Drew Brees was in his prime. It makes sense. Matt Ryan's career is not done. Matt Ryan has been poorly coached since Kyle Shanahan left as his offensive coordinator. Make this happen. Yes, Matt Ryan is owed a boatload of money. But they paid Jimmy G a buttload of money. Trade Jimmy G. Get that off your cap. Get Matt Ryan. Bring him in. That will work. San Francisco's loaded with wide receiver talent. Do they have Julio? No. Do they have Calvin Ridley? No. But they've got a Brandon Ayuk. They've got George Kittle. They've got wide receiver talent. It will work. And then re-sign Josh Rosen. If anybody can resurrect Josh Rosen's career, it's Kyle Shanahan. Anybody. It's Kyle Shanahan. Let Rosen tutor as the actual backup, not the undressed third string, fourth string practice squad guy. Put him under Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's another one of those polished professionals. Let him learn. Kyle Shanahan and Matt Ryan. Rosen ends up having a resurgence when Matt Ryan retires. Minnesota Vikings. Sign Tyrod Taylor. This is not to bring a quarterback controversy. Sign Tyrod Taylor. You bring Tyrod Taylor into the Vikings. A, you have a backup safety net for Kirk Cousins. And it could also give Kirk Cousins the push he needs to get rid of his wishy-washiness. Because he's got bipolar a lot of times. Tyrod Taylor. Kirk Cousins, they could trade him after 2021, and then all of a sudden you got Tyrod Taylor waiting. Move the ball, throw the ball, run the ball. There you go. Tyrod Taylor, Minnesota Vikings. Raiders. Trade Mariota for Matthew Stafford. This goes hand in hand with what I said for the Lions. Trade Mariota for Stafford. You've got a new town that the Raiders moved to that they need to win games. They've got a young wide receiver core and a stud tight end. Bring in Stafford. Pair him with Gruden. Let him throw the rock. Stafford likes to throw. Let Stafford throw 30 plus times a game to those guys. You're good. You're welcome, Raiders. Pittsburgh Steelers. Draft Trey Lance. That's all I have to tell you. Draft Trey Lance. Move up in the draft if you have to. Draft Trey Lance. You will not regret that. If Pittsburgh loses out in the first round, he could potentially be there at 20, at 18, whatever it is. Draft Trey Lance. New Orleans Saints, trade for Wentz. It's a fit. Sean Payton loves Carson Wentz. It's already been talked about. Trade for Carson Wentz. You get Carson Wentz in your roster with Sean Payton, where Carson Wentz has nobody to screw with his mojo and give him any kind of look over his shoulder mentality, and a Sean Payton offense where Sean Payton favors his quarterback, and you're going to see a really... I believe that Carson Wentz would thrive in a Sean Payton offense. I do. There you go. Sean Payton going after Carson Wentz. Carolina Panthers draft Zach Wilson. Teddy Bridgewater has not looked good. In the second half of the season especially. Not looked good. Teddy Bridgewater, not the answer. So, first round, middle of the first round, draft Zach Wilson. Why not? You got Teddy B on a 2 more year deal. You don't have to rush Zach Wilson into your offense next year. Play him, if you're still struggling by week 14, then plug him in. But that gives him 14, 15 weeks to learn under Teddy Bridgewater, to learn the offense, to get reps, to learn an NFL speed. And there you go. Carolina Panthers, just go draft Wilson. And they still have Will Grier and P.J. Walker. That's true. Dallas Cowboys, sign Dak Prescott. This is the easiest moves out of all of these teams listed. Sign Dak Prescott. Do I believe that Dak Prescott is the 5th best quarterback in the NFL? No. Do I believe he's the 10th best quarterback in the NFL? Maybe. Do I believe he's above the Andy Dalton line? Which, by the way, re-sign Andy Dalton while you're at it. Do I believe that Dak Prescott is worth $50 million? No. Hell no. Do I believe he's worth $40 million? Hell no. But you got a quarterback that knows your system. You got a quarterback that knows the team. You got a quarterback who's already there. You shouldn't have franchised him this last year anyways. Sign Dak Prescott. Get him back wearing a star. Move forward. Done. Sit him down. I don't care who needs to have an intervention with the guy. Sit him down and figure it out. Get the deal done. Dak, get the deal done. Dallas, get the deal done. Jerry Jones and Dak need to sit down over a beer and get this shit hashed out ASAP. No team is going to come after the injury that Dak suffered and pay Dak $45 million to come in and be their quarterback. Because they don't know how he's going to recover. So Dallas shouldn't either, but Dallas needs to get the deal done. They need to get him signed. And the last one, Tampa Bay, trade for Dwayne Haskins. This makes sense. Trade for Dwayne Haskins. It's a light trade. It doesn't cost a lot. You've got 1 year of Tom Brady-ness next year still, because Tom Brady signed a 2-year. He can sit under Brady for a year, be his understudy. And then you have Dwayne Haskins ready to go in 22. Bruce Arians doesn't like rookie quarterbacks. He's said that hundreds of times throughout his career. Dwayne Haskins isn't a rookie anymore. So there's your quarterbacks. Teams that should be making some moves, and the quarterbacks that could be on the move. So, like I said, we got a little deep into that one. When we get into contracts and years left on contracts, it tends to get a little... But I try to make it a little bit more fun. I didn't want to bore you guys with that. But I definitely think that there's a lot of moves that need to happen in the NFL this year for quarterbacks. Because quite honestly, we're at a quarterback saturation point. With the amount, you guys saw how many free agents. There's 25 quarterbacks that could potentially be on the move after this season, and 5 going potentially in the first round of this draft. That's a lot of quarterbacks. That's the saturation point. Dave Damashek brought it up, and him and I were talking about it a number of weeks ago. We're at a point where do you go from here? How bad is this going to be for quarterbacks coming into the draft after this year? We're at a point where, provided we don't have busts, and out of these next round of quarterbacks, but even if we have busts, we still have enough starting caliber talent that teams may not have to draft a first round quarterback in the 22 draft. Quarterback saturation point could be ugly for contracts moving forward. Yes, you have guys like Mahomes and Wentz and some of these super contracts that these guys signed over the last couple of years, Wilson and Watson, and yeah, great, they got paid. Next contracts might be substantially lower. If we have this many quarterbacks hitting the free market, this many quarterbacks on the move, this many quarterbacks coming into the draft, it's going to grind the market down. This happened to running backs a number of years ago. So, it could hurt. Get some of the comments in here. I wouldn't say that I'm too high on Shanahan. It's more, David, it's more the fit. You saw how good Matt Ryan played in Kyle Shanahan's offense, and that's where it goes. That's where that really goes. I'm not saying that every quarterback is going to be fantastic in Kyle Shanahan's offense. I'm saying Matt Ryan's fit with him was like a hand in a glove. I mean, they worked well together. They put up a buttload of points, and it makes sense. Matt Ryan's obviously struggling in Atlanta, so it would make sense for him to go to San Francisco and play in Shanahan's offense. Yes, I'm assuming that Trey Lance to the Steelers absolutely would 100% be my, obviously, North Dakota State would absolutely 100% be my wet dream. And personally, I think Trey Lance would fit fantastic with that team. And I do believe that would be a winning combination for the Steelers and for Trey Lance. PJ Walker looked solid. Young for the Panthers. Yeah, good afternoon. Interesting Jets move. Haskins got in trouble for hanging out with strippers this weekend. It wasn't just the hanging out with strippers. It was that he was pictures of them sitting on his lap, and also he wasn't wearing any masks. So that was a big problem. Yes, that's some immaturity. And I'm sure Ron Rivera's nipping that in the butt. We'll know soon, I guess. What do we got? San Fran going with Rosen solves their problems. Which, by the way, welcome, Michael. I don't know if it solves their problems because we've only seen bad Rosen. We haven't seen good Rosen. And I know good Rosen exists because he got drafted, 4th overall or 10th overall, whatever it was, by Arizona a couple years ago. So we saw good Rosen in college. We have not seen good Rosen in the NFL. Now, could that come out with Kyle Shanahan? It could. I'd like to see Rosen. I want to see Rosen get a shot and be successful. We'll see what happens. We don't know if it's going to happen yet, but it's potential. I mean, right there, the Josh Rosen move could be the next love fest for Kyle Shanahan where they give up a ton of money. Way too many quarterbacks available for 32 teams. Absolutely. We were just talking about that quarterback saturation point. I don't know if it's going to unsaturate in the next 2 years. There is so many quarterbacks. And really, when you look at that list that we were talking about, which I'll throw back up here. Let me know if the sound cuts out again. It looks like it's still working. Let's see if I can go back. Previous. Ah. Here we go. So I don't know if we're going to see an unsaturate of it, because when we look at the amount of backup quarterbacks right now, we have Nick Foles not retiring, Andy Dalton not retiring, Jameis Winston not retiring, Josh Rosen not retiring, Dwayne Haskins not retiring, RG3 not retiring, Jacoby Brissett not retiring, Gardner Minshew not retiring, Marcus Mariota not retiring, Tyrod Taylor not retiring. Ryan Fitzpatrick and Joe Flacco are the two closest to retiring. So I don't really think we're going to see anything really free up because of this. Now, we do have a number of starters who are close to retiring. We have Tom Brady, we have Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, all on the verge of retiring. Aaron Rodgers isn't too far behind. Alex Smith, not too far behind. Matt Ryan, only a few years behind them. Matt Stafford, same. So I don't think we're going to see the market for quarterbacks dwindle anytime soon. There's so many. And this is just the guys who are limited years on their contracts. Between the backups that I listed and the starters that I listed, there's 25 guys who are in 3-year or less deals. So I don't know if we're going to see that change. You asked why not Kirk Cousins to San Fran. Mostly because I don't believe that Minnesota's going to deal him. The cap for Kirk, he's owed $21 million. They're already tied in with Garoppolo for $24 million, and if they trade him, it's still a cap hit. So I don't really see San Fran pulling that big of a cap hit I don't see Minnesota taking the cap hit, not San Fran. I don't see Minnesota taking the cap hit unless there's a big reason to do it. And I don't see San Francisco going after Kirk Cousins over Matt Ryan. I see Matt Ryan going there before I see Cousins going there. Yes, with Julio. Oh, Oz. Okay, Michael. Right on. I never knew your real name, Oz. Coach just went through chemo. Yep, good afternoon. How many older quarterbacks do you think will actually retire after this season? Zero. Not one. Not one is going to retire. We're not going to see a single starting older quarterback retire this year. The only quarterback that we're going to see retire this year, my bet, is Fitzpatrick. If anybody, is going to be Fitzpatrick. Brees is going to end up one more year. And I think it's mostly going to be because he's going to want to prove the naysayers wrong. But number two, he's going to want to stay in the hunt with Tom Brady. They were bouncing back and forth most of the season for touchdown passes. And he's not going to want to back down. He's going to want to prove that he can sling it just as long as Brady can. And he's going to go at least one more year. Ben's not retiring this year. Rivers is not retiring this year. And that's really the crop right there. The next draft class was Alex Smith, who could retire this year, depending on how bad this injury was. But then Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the next draft class after Roethlisberger, Rivers, and Manning. So I don't think we're really going to see too many quarterbacks even look at retiring this year. Ben's pretty much done. Pretty much the only one who looks close. Yeah, and I think Ben's is frustration more than anything else. Just with how the offense is going, it's been stagnant. Receivers dropping balls. Running game's been shit. So I think more of it is mental with Ben right now than arm. A lot of people said his arm looked bad the last couple weeks, but it really only looked bad this last night. And more of that was him airing passes just because I think he's right now was so frustrated he's just going through the motions for the sake of going through the motions. Drew might if he gets hurt again. Potentially. Yeah, I mean, that last one was, what, 10 fractured ribs and a punctured lung or something like that? I mean, that was like, holy crap, dude. Seriously. I mean, you got a family to think about, bro. Brady, Brees, Ryan, Big Ben, Rogers, Stafford, Cam, Smith. Yep, but not Oz. I just don't see it happening this year, though. Ben wants to win a title for Pouncey and his offensive line. That's really his. That's why he came back. Now, do you believe that that's the driving factor? That's up to you. I think he's going to stick around one more year. He's got one more year left on his contract. Brady's got one more year. Brees has one more year. Rodgers has got 2 or 3. Stafford's got 3. Or was he 2? Hang on. Stafford had 2 years left on his deal. But Stafford is an 08 draft class. So, I mean, I see Stafford going a couple more years. Cam, potentially, depending on if he gets another shot. Rodgers, another one where he's going to be the draft class after Ben and Rivers. So, Rivers I could see after next year. It kind of depends on what the Colts decide to do this year with their, after this year with their quarterbacks. Smith, again, I think Smith is going to be, based on this most recent injury. I mean, honestly, he's already proven that he could come back from that nasty freaking injury. So he already proved everybody wrong. Walk away while you can, man. Walk away while you can walk. 9 in the next 2 years. I kind of put it more past 2, though. Rodgers wins this year. He retire off the back of it. I don't think so. Listen, if you listen to Aaron Rodgers talk, and I don't know if any of you guys listen to the Pat McAfee show on YouTube or Sirius or anything like that. He has Aaron Rodgers on every Tuesday. And I really enjoy... I've never been an Aaron Rodgers fan, but I'm starting to become more of a fan of him as a person than the player. And if you listen to him talk, he has found a new love of football and of life. And you listen to him talk versus the way he would talk in years previous, and it's night and day. He is enjoying what's going on. And I think that he'll probably pull this out for another couple, 2, 3, 4 years. I got to look and see what his contract is, but I got a sneaking suspicion that Rodgers will put in 3+, especially if he continues to play at the level he's playing this year, and is having fun. I mean, it's like Rodgers is back to being 28-year-old Aaron Rodgers again, loving football and loving life. Okay. Yes, that Oz 100%. Cam's problem, system, which is why I think he would fit well going into Rivera, going to Washington. Rivera's familiar with him. Rivera can build an offense around him. Obviously, it's proven it. MVP caliber season. They went to the Super Bowl. Yeah, makes sense. And I struggle with the Lamar Jackson. I struggle with the Lamar Jackson critics. And you guys know I'm a Steelers fan, but I respect my opponents. I have a lot of respect for the Baltimore Ravens because they're built very similar to the Pittsburgh Steelers in terms of the franchise. Now, we've never had a quarterback like Lamar Jackson outside of Cordell Stewart, but Cordell Stewart's arm still was nowhere near what Lamar Jackson's arm was. or is. I believe if Lamar Jackson doesn't suffer any major injuries to his lower body, I believe that his arm and his pocket presence and pocket passing ability will develop as he continues to age. Michael Vick was the same way. Michael Vick ran a lot when he was in his youth. Now, he didn't have any massive leg injuries, but he developed into a more efficient passer, and man, he could throw darts. And Michael Vick had a cannon, yes, but he developed more into a pocket passer as he aged because his legs couldn't be the game changer that he was in his mid-20s to late 20s. So I think Lamar has time to be that guy, provided he doesn't get his main weapon taken away from him overnight like that. It's possible. See, David and I have a problem saying that Cam isn't good throwing the football. I personally think Cam's issue is up here right now. It's that he is trying to be too reliant on his legs, and he's not letting Father Time... He's trying to not let Father Time win. He's getting older. He's, 32? 33 years old? And he's not as effective with his legs anymore. And he doesn't want to relinquish that control. And so he hasn't worked on the passing game. He struggles with that changeover. It's like the guy going through his midlife crisis that goes and buys a freaking $100 sports car. That's kind of what I look at it with Cam right now. If Cam's mentality gets back into it, I think he will adjust, and I think he could still be a decent quarterback. Will he be an MVP caliber quarterback? No, by no stretch of imagination do I believe that he will be, because that aspect of his game is dwindling. Could he still go and run for 300 yards in a season and 5 touchdowns? Sure. But by no means is he a 1,000-yard, 15 touchdowns with his legs guy. As you've seen this year, that's why New England struggled on offense, was because Cam refused to run a traditional offense. Yeah, I've read a lot of that stuff with Daniel Jeremiah. I've heard quite a bit of his. Vic also had Algie Crumpler, which Algie was a freaking stud. No, Vic didn't operate out of the pistol, no. No touch, everything's a bullet, correct? Yep, feel it could be scary if they put him in that kind of system. Felt he kind of got the coach, made him work on his system, yes. Yeah, see, and that's what it was. Vic had time to develop. Early in Vic's career, he was the highlight film guy, where like the Vikings game that everybody likes to show highlights of, where he runs between defenders and you got defenders that are just smoking into each other. But that's the thing. Vic never had massive injuries when he was early in his career and had his legs taken away from him. That's not what happened at all. He slowly got to, until he went to prison. He had time to adjust and grow his game and his skill set in the NFL. And that's where guys like RG3 struggled, because RG3 went from dynamic running quarterback to open his career. That got taken away from him at the end of his rookie season, and in his second year in the NFL, he hadn't developed yet. And he struggled with that. And now RG3, in time, has been working on throwing, and he's been working on other things. And I fully believe that RG3 could end up being a really good backup quarterback, and potentially be a stopgap starting quarterback for a season or two for an NFL franchise. It's very possible. He's built very much like Lamar Jackson, but you saw in the Steelers game where he cramps up because of his injuries that he's had, and his hamstring and his quads make it really tough for him to run the way he did. Yeah, Cam Newton goal line roll. There you go, as a running back. All right.